The early part of your day, the middle of your day, and the end of your day and night are linked. What are they linked by? Your cortisol rhythms. So it's also important for me to point out that if you're already feeling wired and tired and burnt out, if you don't have energy in the morning, or if you somehow have low energy all day, but then at night you can't sleep, this is very typical of burnout, literally all of that can be resolved, perhaps not entirely, but mostly, and in some cases entirely, by fixing your cortisol rhythm. The problem with thinking about cortisol simply as a stress hormone is that it's doing a lot of other things unrelated to stress that are super important and positive for you. However, it all depends on how high your cortisol levels are and when. So during today's discussion, there's going to be a very prominent theme, which is your cortisol rhythm, or more particularly, your 24-hour so-called circadian rhythm in cortisol. And here's the important first thing to remember. You want your cortisol high early in the day, shortly after waking, and you want your cortisol low in the hours right before sleep and in the first hours of sleep. Please remember that, because if you get those two things correct, everything else in terms of health and wellness and performance, all of that will be reinforced by getting your cortisol rhythm correct. So today I will explain how to get your cortisol rhythm correct. I will also explain what stress does to cortisol in the long term if you're dealing with long bouts of stress associated with what eventually becomes burnout. Here's where I'm going to suggest a protocol, and you've heard this protocol before, I know. The protocol is to get bright light, ideally from sunlight, into your eyes within the first hour of waking, ideally within the first 30 minutes. Ideally, it's from sunlight, so you would go outside, take your sunglasses off. Eyeglasses and contacts are fine, even if they have UV protection in them. Look in the direction of the sun. Blink as needed to protect your eyes. Yes, you can do this on cloudy days. In fact, it's more important to do on cloudy days because cloudy days tend to be dimmer overall. And this is a unique opportunity to boost your cortisol levels in that first hour of the day. If you don't have access to sunlight for whatever reason, travel, you live in a cave, time of year, weather, whatever, you could use a 10,000 lux artificial light. If you're going to do that, I still highly recommend that you get outside and get some sunlight in your eyes as soon as you can once the sun is out. But for you very early risers that wake up before the sun is out, this is so, so key. I want to highlight, bold, underline this for you. It's also the case that the higher that first peak in cortisol is early in the day, the better you're setting yourself up for low levels of cortisol later in the evening and at night, which will allow you to fall asleep easily, to stay asleep easily. And what you've done by viewing bright light as soon as possible after waking is to amplify your levels of cortisol, which then are going to trigger that negative feedback loop and going to cause cortisol to gradually decline from the late morning, perhaps starting around 10 a.m., 11, noon, depending on when you woke up, of course, dropping into the afternoon. So you have plenty of energy into your early afternoon, late afternoon, but by evening and nighttime, your cortisol levels are low. The gate, the opportunity for light to start triggering increases in cortisol, opens in the evening past sundown. So this will be different times of year, different locations on Earth, but about 2 hours after sundown or so, any bright light from an artificial source, especially short wavelength light of the type that comes from LEDs and computer screens and phones, that sort of thing, can cause big increases in cortisol. And that, of course, provides a perfect segue for us to talk about the things that you should do in the evening and at night to make sure that your cortisol is low and dropping further still. Okay, so let's talk about the things to do in the evening and at night in order to, quote unquote, optimize your cortisol levels. And when I say optimize, of course, there's no optimal exact level. There's no optimal level for one exact time. Everyone's on slightly different schedules. The point here is that we're focused now on the portion of your endogenous, naturally generated cortisol rhythm that occurs in the hours before bedtime, when your goal is to get to sleep and get terrific sleep. And what that requires is that your cortisol is low and continuing to go lower. So there are various things that you should do in the afternoon and evening and nighttime to make sure that pattern occurs. The first has to do with lighting. As I just described, in the evening, about 2 hours after sundown is really when this phase of your cortisol cycle begins, where not much light is required in order to create big increases in cortisol, which is the exact opposite of what you want in the evening and at night. You want your cortisol going down, not up. So How do you control your lighting in order to ensure that pattern occurs? There are several ways. First of all, you just dim the indoor lights, right? Dim them as much as possible, especially overhead lights. The neurons in your eye that send information about overall luminance, how bright it is in your environment, they're all over your eye, but they reside primarily in the lower 2/3 of your eyes because their role is to view the upper visual field, and that's how that circuit is arranged. So if you have to have lights on in your indoor environment at night, which most people do, you should dim as many lights as you can, turn off as many overhead lights as you can. Table lamps are better than overhead lights, and floor lights are better than table lamps. So if you're experiencing stress, especially in the evening and nighttime hours, do 1 to 3 physiological sighs. If you can't remember to do that because you're so stressed, just do some emphasized exhale breathing. Just think about dumping your air through your mouth until your lungs are empty, and then do a physiological sigh or two. In fact, and I know some of you have heard this before, the fastest way to calm down in real time is going to be the so-called physiological sigh, which is just a big, deep inhale through your nose, then a second sharp inhale to try and maximally inflate your lungs, and then a long exhale until your lungs are empty. And that long exhale should be done through your mouth. Okay, it's really key that the first inhale be a big, long, deliberate inhale through your nose. It's really key that the second inhale be also through your nose. Even though it's a sharp little inhale where you're not sneaking much air in, it causes maximal inflation of all the little sacs in your lungs. And then that allows you to maximally offload carbon dioxide when you do that long to lungs empty exhale. The whole thing, as you just saw, probably takes about 30, 40 seconds, maybe a minute maximum. And it is the fastest and most effective way to calm yourself down in real time. I can't overemphasize just how powerful this tool is. There have been now recordings of what's going on in the brain. People have looked at what's happening with carbon dioxide and oxygen ratios. Your heart rate slows down. There are a bunch of things that all contribute to shifting your autonomic nervous system from a more sympathetic, activated mode to parasympathetic, so-called rest and digest mode. And it happens very, very quickly. Burnout is a real thing. Okay? Burnout reflects a number of different processes in the brain and body, but the one thing it doesn't reflect is that your adrenals are gone, or that they can't secrete adrenaline, or that they can't secrete cortisol. However, most people out there who are struggling with burnout do not suffer from either of those conditions. Does that mean burnout isn't real, or that we can't deal with it? No, burnout is very real. However, most people don't understand burnout, or they try and go about treating burnout in exactly the wrong way. And here's the reason for that. There are really two patterns of burnout, and this has been explored in the literature through the lens of trying to understand when cortisol is elevated and when it's lower across the 24-hour cycle in people that are saying, I'm burnt out, I'm wired and tired, I'm suffering from brain fog, I'm getting sick all the time, I'm just exhausted, or I feel like I'm just can't keep up with life. Now, there can be a lot of reasons for those statements, psychological and otherwise. It's never just physical or just psychological. Of course, the two things intersect. But here's the good news. Those two forms of burnout, you can figure out which one you have. And those two forms of burnout each have different approaches that they require in order to fix them. So let's talk about the first pattern of burnout, which is when people are waking up feeling super stressed. They're waking up with anxiety, ideally after some sleep, but maybe it's after just 3-4 hours of sleep. Like they can't fall back asleep, and they're feeling just completely activated first thing in the morning, maybe far too early in the morning. And then maybe they maintain that level of stress and activation into the early afternoon. Maybe they don't, but more typically they crash in the afternoon. They're just feeling exhausted by the afternoon, and they're just staring at the computer screen or just feeling like they're in a fog, they're forgetting things. That's one very typical pattern of burnout. The other pattern of burnout is when people are feeling like they're waking up and they're just really sluggish. They don't have energy. They've got brain fog. They're drinking caffeine, they're hydrating, they're trying to do all the things, and they're just like, they don't even have the energy to do them. And they just can't get into gear. They have no get up and go. But then when evening rolls around, they can't slow down. They can't calm their mind. They can't fall asleep. They're tired, but they're wired. Okay. As you can see, those are two very distinct patterns of stress, of burnout. And as you can imagine, they require perhaps the same steps or different steps, but certainly at different times in order to resolve that burnout, in order to fix it. So much of recovering from burnout, especially type 2 burnout, is about getting your nighttime cortisol low so that your morning cortisol levels can be elevated again and that you can have that energy in the morning, which then sets in motion the proper overall cortisol rhythm. If you're starting to sense a repeating theme, Indeed, it's because your cortisol rhythm is repeating. Having that pattern and having those peaks and the trough aligned to the right time of your schedule for you, for what you need to do in life, for your kids, for your job, for school, for athletics, etc., is so critical, and it's absolutely under your control. And I see so many areas of health and wellness, so many areas where people are trying to troubleshoot illness, like they're getting sick all the time, or they're dealing with an autoimmune issue, or they're dealing with metabolic issues and things of that sort. And so many times, it seems that what's happened is this cortisol curve has just shifted too late, or it's being spiked in the afternoon, or it's being spiked at night. And yes, we could talk about all the reasons why with modern electronics and technology, we're biasing ourselves towards these patterns of late shifted cortisol and disrupted cortisol rhythms. But look, technology is not going anywhere. What is here to stay is your ability to engage with those technologies and to do the proper things like exercise and eating, et cetera, and self-calming at the appropriate times of your schedule so that you can get your cortisol rhythms back in check. And I promise you, if you do that, you're going to see an outsized positive effect on everything: mood, focus, alertness, sleep, which then, of course, feeds back on elevated mood, focus, alertness, and sleep. The early part of your day, the middle of your day, and the end of your day and night are linked. What are they linked by? Your cortisol rhythms. How do you control those cortisol rhythms? By grabbing a hold of the time of day in which they're most challenging and starting to do as many things as you possibly can to bring your cortisol up, if that's what's needed early in the day, or down, which is what's needed late in the day. Wherever your main pain point is along the 24-hour day and night, that's where you should focus your efforts first. And from there, you can start making adjustments in the other protocols in order to get things exactly right for you. It's possible, but start where you're experiencing the most pain first.